Shuddhabhava Prabhuji has given me this topic about Krishna Leela, various asuras, killings of demons by Krishna, and how they are relevant to us today as far as our anarthas or demons within, offenses within our heart are concerned. So this particular topic was chosen. Shuddhabhav Prabhuji told me that this is auspicious month of Kartik which is going on. So discussions on the topics of Krishna Leela are especially very important in this month. They are recommended by scriptures and they cleanse our heart. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, regularly hearing from Bhagavatam the Leela pastimes of the Lord, they cleanse our heart thoroughly, and we are, vidhunoti. Vidhunoti means cleansed of many misgivings, many problems within the heart. So these topics of Krishna Leela, which are very auspicious for us, are important and need to be discussed again and again every day. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya means Nityam means every day. In fact, Srila Prabhupada was very straightforward and he gave the meaning of Nityam Sevaya to be attendance in Bhagavatam class every day. So at least in this pandemic situation, since we are not able to do regular satsanga at temple, this satsanga online is also very much important for us. These discussions are very much important to us. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said, Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin daiva asura evacha. There are two kinds of created beings. One is called as divine and the other are called demoniac. Elsewhere in Padma Purana also this similar verse comes where it is said that Dvau bhuta sargau lokesmin Daiva asura evacha Vishnu bhaktah smruto daiva asurastad viparyayaha. Means Vishnu bhakta smruto daiva. The two kinds of people, one is divine. Those divine people are, who are those divine people? They are Vishnu bhakta. And asurastad viparyayaha. Means others who are not devotees of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, they are all asuras or demons. So as long as one is not a proper devotee of Lord or God or Vishnu, if one is not properly situated in devotional service, he is considered to be a demon. So this question has to be asked by us to ourselves, whether we are really Vishnu Bhaktaha or we are Viparyayaha, means not Vishnu Bhakta. So some saints also give an analogy of day and night. The presence of sun, when it is there in front of our eyes, we call it as a day. So either there is day or night, either the sun is there or sun is set. So if there is any tinge of selfishness within our heart, then we are not supposed to be really Vishnu Bhaktas, pure Vishnu Bhaktas. We are yet to achieve that feat. And becoming a Vaishnava is very rare. Becoming a devotee of Vishnu, devotee of Krishna, is a very rare feat. It's not, it's not that everybody around can, really become situated on pure devotional platform to Vishnu, just like that. So in Garud Puran especially, this verse comes, Brahmananam sahastrebhya satrayaji vishishyate, means amongst sahastrebhya, means amongst thousands of Brahmanas, Satrayaji Vishishyate. Satrayaji means one who is qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices. So amongst thousands of Brahmanas, one becomes qualified, one is qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices. And Satrayaji Sahasrebhyah Sarva Vedanta Paragaha. Means out of many thousands of such qualified Brahmanas, expert in such sacrificial offerings, one learned Brahmana may have passed beyond all Vedic knowledge. So, out of thousands of Brahmanas, one becomes qualified for Vedic sacrificial offerings. He becomes experts, and out of such thousands of experts, qualified Brahmanas, expert Brahmanas in sacrificial offerings, one is learned enough, so much so that he passes beyond all Vedic knowledge. So, this is very rare that one becomes a qualified Brahmana. Brahmanas have their own qualities which are described in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita clearly states, Lord Sri Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita, that Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Four Varnas are created by me. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. They are created by, and they are based on guna and karma, qualities and activities of a person, not birth. Although birth facilitates one to become expert in, say, sacrificial ceremonies, Vedic sacrifices, and one can take advantage of his birth in such a family, but that doesn't mean that by default he has those qualities and he is acting according to that conception or on that level. So, Brahmanas who are actually according to qualities and activities, within such thousands of Brahmanas, one is qualified to perform sacrifices. And out of such thousands of expert sacrificial offering Brahmanas, one is learned enough to pass beyond all Vedic knowledge. So, such a Brahmana is considered to be best among all these Brahmanas. And Sarva Vedanta with Kotya Vishnu Bhakto Vishishyate means out of Kotya means Kotyavadhi. Kotyavadhi means millions and billions of such Vedanta Paraga Brahmana. Sarva Vedanta with means he knows all the Vedas perfectly well. He knows the purpose behind all Vedas. Such a person, Vishnu Bhakta, is very, very rare. Vishishyate means very special. So, out of thousands of such Brahmanas who have surpassed Vedic knowledge, one person may be a Vishnu Bhakta and he is most famous, Vishishyate. Vaishnavanam Sahastrebhyo Ekanti Eko Vishishyate means out of many thousands of such, one who is completely in the service of Lord Krishna is most famous. So, pure devotee of Lord Krishna is very, very rare. That is the conclusion of this verse. A person who is completely devoted to the service of the Lord certainly returns home back to Godhead. But are we such rare person? We have to ask this question to ourselves. Am I really within myself? Am I so qualified? Am I so divinely situated in my purity, my devotional service? The answer is known to us. So, Bhagavad Gita also says this, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. After many, many births, many, many lifetimes, one who is situated on perfect knowledge, that is described here as Vedanta Vid or Vedanta, Sarva Vedanta Paragah. So, Sarva Vedanta Paragah or Sarva Vedanta Vid, such a person, he knows that Vasudeva Sarvamiti. That is the symptom. He knows that Lord Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, supreme personality of Godhead, pure absolute reality is Lord Krishna. Everything is Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is source of everything. Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. So, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. Not only he knows, but also he is surrendered. And he says that Krishna is everything for me. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. He completely, without any reservations, surrenders to Lord Krishna. And this kind of perfection of knowledge is not so easily achieved, especially in this age of Kali Yuga. We are so fallen. We are living in such a demoniac culture and society, for which we are also responsible. We are not, so qualified in our devotional capacity. So elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam Sahastreshu Kaschid Yatati Siddhaye Yatatam api Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Vetti Tatvatah. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. Although we may be endeavoring for perfection in devotional service or gaining knowledge related to Krishna by hearing and trying to devote ourselves, these endeavors may take millions of lifetimes to achieve the level of purity which is required for attaining the supreme absolute truth. So, out of such thousands of men, many thousands of men, one is endeavoring for perfection, and those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth, Krishna says. That there are very, very rare devotees who really know Krishna as he is. And therefore, this Leelas of Krishna, the pastimes of Lord Krishna, especially in Vrindavan, they are the source of knowing the truth as it is. What is said, Yatatam api Siddhanam Kaschin Mam Vetti Tatvatah. All the devotees of the Lord who are there in eternal abode, that is Goloka or Vrindavan, they are siddhas, they are perfected beings, they are pure devotees of Lord Krishna. And those pure devotees who are situated in Vrindavan in devotional service, pure devotional service in many rasas, many moods, they know Krishna in truth. So Krishna, when he has to be known as it is, or in its purest form, the absolute truth, if it has to be understood, we have to understand the pastimes of Lord Krishna. On the other hand, Lord Krishna says that certain people, they avoid surrender. So one who wants to avoid surrender to Lord Krishna is described by Lord Krishna in this verse of Bhagavad Gita, Namam dushkrutino mudhaha prapadyante naradhamaha mayaya parata jnana asuram bhavamashrita. So we see that our hearts do not want to completely surrender to Lord Krishna, completely surrender to his instructions and follow them perfectly. Our hearts have so many problems. So those who cannot surrender to Krishna or avoid surrender to Krishna, they are described in this verse as miscreants who are grossly foolish. It is foolishness not to surrender to Lord Krishna. They are described as lowest among mankind, Naradhamaha, lowest among mankind, because mankind is bestowed with such a consciousness where he can perfectly understand why and how Lord Krishna is supreme. How, if one does scientific research, perfect research, and finds out who is the cause of all causes, he will get to know about Lord Krishna, and that capacity is present within mankind. So one who avoids this path of research, scientific finding that Lord Krishna is supreme, such a person is easily described as lowest among mankind, because he is having that capacity to know Lord Krishna scientifically. He is given that brain, he is given that intelligence or that consciousness by which he can understand the supreme truth and supreme personality of Godhead. He is provided with scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, where the scientific description of presence of God is perfectly given, elucidated by purports of saints like Srila Prabhupada. These kinds of purports, these explanations time to time were given by various saints, saintly people in this world. But people who are not wanting to avoid surrender to Krishna, they first of all do not appreciate these saintly people. So these people are, in illusion. It is described Maya ya parata jnana. Knowledge is stolen by illusion. So they are under illusion, and in this, under the influence of this illusion, they cannot understand the supremacy of absolute truth, Lord Krishna, and they partake to the atheistic nature of demons. Asuram bhavam ashritaha. So who are these asuras, or these propensities, demoniac propensities, atheistic nature? Where from it comes? It is coming from that, avoidance, purposeful avoidance to surrender to absolute truth, Lord Krishna. So they do not surrender to me, Lord Krishna says, that these grossly foolish miscreants, miscreants means one's activities are against the scriptural injunctions. Dushkrutina, kruti. Kruti means activity. Dushkruti means bad activities or demoniac activities. So those who are performing demoniac activities, they are described as grossly foolish. They are lowest among mankind. Their knowledge is stolen by illusion, and they partake to atheistic nature of demons. They do not want to surrender unto me. So most of the people in this world, in this dark age of Kali Yuga, they defame Vedic literature. They take wrong meanings. They misrepresent the real knowledge. They take to misdeeds, or they take to this atheistic nature. They become lowest among mankind. Their behavior is totally demoniac, and these demoniac behaviors are very vividly described in 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So what is this demon or demoniac nature, asuri bhav, and what are these anarthas? As our topic is anarthas and Krishna's leela of killing demons, what is that relationship? In fact, these anarthas, which are actually described very nicely, this anartha word, it means that worthless. Anartha means अर्थ नहीं है जिसमें कुछ. अनर्थ मीन्स यूजलेस थिंग, useless, worthless, nonsense, meaningless, and without any value. So, in relation to devotional service, the word anartha refers to unwanted or useless or nonsense material desires in the heart that impede one's advancement in bhakti. So, devotional service means being a sold out servant, complete surrendered servant of God or absolute truth. So, if one is not surrendered and not following the instructions as a sevak, as a servant of Lord, he has tinge of desires which are not conducive to devotional service. So, if I have anything which is not related to devotional service in my heart, that is called as anarthas, anything unwanted. The real perfection, the siddha avastha, or the perfect position of a living being is situated in devotional service as part and parcel of God. We are all part and parcel of God. We are supposed to be the minute soul particle of सुप्रीम सोल. परमात्मा के अंश आत्मा हम है. तो आत्मा और परमात्मा के बीच, between Atma and Paramatma, the exchange of devotional service is a natural position of living being. But when one is not in that position of exchange of loving devotional service, whatever desires he has other than this position are called as anarthas. There are certain offenses or aparad. So these aparad keep us away from attaining the perfection. Surrender to God therefore takes freedom from these anarthas. And what are these anarthas? 6 demons, we can call them. They are lust, greed, anger, illusion, envy, pride. So these are there within the heart. As long as they are there within the heart of a living being who is conditioned, he cannot become pure devotee, purely situated living being, a pure Vaishnava as it is called. So this is where the rarity of devotional service is described in the previous verses that we discussed. That it's very rare that one is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, and amongst all those devotees of Lord Vishnu, a pure surrendered devotee of Lord Krishna is very rare. So that purity means the freedom from anarthas and aparadhas, the useless things or offensive things. So Lord Krishna, in fact, uh, is a uh, he gives joy to the devotees through his pastimes and also destroys the demons. So we see that in Vrindavan, in Gokul, and in Vrindavan, both these places, Lord Krishna played so many pastimes. So these pastimes actually, when one hears with faith and surrender, one can become free from these six anarthas of illusion, lust, greed, anger, envy, and pride. So these anarthas actually, which are keeping us away from Lord Krishna, the medicine is, or the killing of these demons signifies the destruction of these anarthas within our own hearts. These demons which are killed by Lord Krishna, they are very much present within all of us as anarthas, various anarthas. And these anarthas and offenses, they are actually present in gross as well as very subtle ways. So there are various, moods which are there, parts of our consciousness which is polluted. They are there. These are removed by faithful hearing of pastimes of Lord Krishna. So with that meaning of pastimes of Lord Krishna in heart, the pastimes which have happened so far distant in time scale, they become very much relevant to us. One may ask Krishna, when did he come? It is, very old story. In fact, Krishna came 5,000, more than 5,000 years back. So it was end of Dwapar Yug, at the end of the 27th cycle of Chaturyuga. The seventh Manu, Krishna appears in the original supreme form. So he is so rare to come appear. He comes once in a day of Brahma, that is almost 8 billion years. Within 8 billion years, earthly years, Krishna comes once. So he has come. He had come 5,000 years back. Is a in this 8 billion years, 5,000 years is nothing. So we are fortunate enough to be born in such a age where Krishna's appearance has just gone by, um, only 5,000 years back. So that absolute truth, Krishna, who took his incarnation 5,000 years back, he is described as the absolute truth. And sometimes it is very much bewildering to see that Lord Krishna performs very, gentle, very humanly pastimes. So people sometimes they criticize that how can absolute truth have a form, first of all, and how can absolute truth be so simple? Like Krishna is crying like a baby, Krishna is fearful, Krishna is playing like or like an ordinary child. So how can this be absolute truth? In fact, many are bewildered, and many are bewildered by their own misinterpretation of pastimes of Lord Krishna. They misrepresent or misinterpret the pastimes of Lord Krishna, the esoteric pastimes like Rasa Leela of Lord Krishna, which happened in a very innocent age, 8 years, and there is no tinge of lust in that pastime. They are small, gopikas and Krishna. They are dancing together like 8 years children. They dance. So there is no presence of the material lust in that pastime, and it's a pure devotional service without tinge of any anartha like lust, greed, anger, or illusion. So these are absent, totally absent. And how innocent love can be present is very well represented in these pastimes. But people, demoniac people, have a tendency to misrepresent according to their own anarthas. So therefore, they feel that how absolute truth can act like this, absolute truth, which is, such a uh, perfect state of uh, consciousness, which is such a perfect state of knowledge from which everything is emanating, how it can be crying, playing, and be fearful and act like an ordinary person. So, for this, one can understand from the pastimes of Lord Krishna itself, himself, that even Brahma couldn't understand. Brahmadev's Brahma Vimohan Leela it's a great example. Brahma, who is supposed to be the engineer of this universe, he could not understand the position of Lord Krishna as absolute truth when he witnessed these pastimes. But these pastimes are pure devotional service. The way the soul must be situated in a pure platform in order to be freed from all anarthas and all problems like birth, old age, disease, death, mukta stage or liberated stage. That liberated stage and the exchanges of liberated with Supreme are actually demonstrated in the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So therefore, we need commentaries from our acharyas. Acharyas who have lived a very perfect life. They are actually true Vaishnavas with full purity. Such acharyas actually have very beautifully, uh, uh, described the devotion and also have described how the asuras who have not surrendered to God, how those asuras were liberated by Lord Krishna. And they say that by regularly hearing these pastimes intently with love and surrender, one can become liberated from asuric disasters or the demoniac presence within our own heart of lust, greed, anger, illusion, etc. So, uh, in Chaitanya Shikshamrita, which is composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, sorry, who is spiritual master of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, in turn, who is disciple of, who is Guru of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and who is Guru of Srila Prabhupada. So in that way, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur has composed Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrit, in which he describes the asuras who died at the time of Lord's Leelas in Vrindavan, in Gokul. And they represent various kinds of disasters within our own hearts. So the first demoness which was killed by Lord Krishna in the pastimes of Gokul, um, she was Putana. Incidentally, she was um, uh, a lady, a woman. So in Lord Ram's Leela also we see that Lord Ram killed a woman demoness first, Ratika. So in this pastime also, in this incarnation also, Lord Krishna killed Putana. And this pastime happened when Krishna was merely 6 days old. So uh, it's not that such a big demoness like Putana, who was a ferocious, Asura, Asuri, we may call. She, Krishna did not take any training, or he was not like, meditated and earned some siddhis and then killed Putana. When Krishna was merely 6 days old, at that time Krishna enacted this pastime. So this pastime is described in chapter 6 of Shrimad Bhagavatam, canto uh, 10th canto, chapter 6. So in this chapter, it is described by Shukdev Goswami that he's describing it to Maharaj Parikshit that while Nanda Maharaj was on the way home, he considered that what Vasudev had said. Uh, could not be false or useless. There must have been some danger of disturbance in Gokul. So, in fact, Nanda Maharaj was at Vasudev's home, and somehow or the other, Nanda Maharaj could sense something wrong has happened in Gokul. So, as Nanda Maharaj thought about this danger for his beautiful son Krishna, he was afraid and he took shelter at the lotus feet of Supreme Controller. So Nanda Maharaj, he was returning to Gokul. The same fierce Putana whom Kamsa had previously engaged to kill babies was wandering about in the towns, cities, and villages doing her nefarious duty. So Putana, Kamsa actually approached Putana because Kamsa already knew that Krishna is born and a son of Devaki is going to be his Kal, his killer. So Kamsa would be killed by Krishna. Kamsa knew that. So therefore he appointed Putana to kill all babies around because already Krishna was out from Mathura, the prison house. That story we know. And Kamsa wanted those babies to be killed. And such a ghastly, murder of babies, who could do? It required a demoness like Putana, such a degraded consciousness. Uh, when we see a child, any person's heart would melt to see a small baby, and to kill such babies, we need very ghastly, consciousness. So Putana was wandering, and in all towns, cities, villages around, she was killing babies. So, Shukadev Goswami is describing, my dear king, wherever people in any position perform their occupational duties of devotional service by chanting and hearing Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho, there cannot be any danger from bad elements. So, there was no need for anxiety about Gokul while the Supreme Personality of Godhead was personally present. So, here the greatness of Lord Krishna's pastimes or his own presence, his form, or activities like hearing about Lord Krishna, uh, doing kirtan of Lord Krishna. So these activities always protect us from bad elements. This truth is revealed here. So there, Shukadev Goswami is saying that there was no need actually to worry for Nanda Maharaj also, because Krishna, Supreme Personality of God, was personally present there. So this Putana Rakshasi, who could move according to her desire and was wandering in outer space, she was a Khechari. Khechari means she could wander in outer space. Khe means uh, sky, and Chara means one who can move around. So she converted herself by mystic powers into a very beautiful woman and thus entered Gokul, the abode of Nanda Maharaj. And there is a description of how beautiful her form was, and you know how nicely she was dressed, and her hair, how they were adorned with garlands of mallika flowers, and her beautiful face was having those scattered flowers around, and her earrings were brilliant, and she smiled very attractively, glancing upon everyone, and her beauty drew the attention of all the inhabitants of Vraja, especially the men. When the gopis saw her, they thought that the beautiful goddess of fortune, holding a lotus flower in her hand, had come to see her husband Krishna. So here is a vivid description of how a beautiful form can be uh, cheating, or can be dangerous. It's not only packing that matters, it's actually the inside of the heart, or the content of the heart, and the consciousness that matters. Nobody could detect, in fact, that Putana was a demoness because of her external appearance. While searching for small children, Putana, whose business was to kill them, entered the house of Nanda Maharaj. She was not stalked by anybody. She was unobstructed. That is the influence of her, beauty. Having been sent by the superior potency of the Lord, because Krishna himself wanted that this pastime should happen. It was all arranged by the superior potency of the Lord. So, without asking anyone's permission, she entered Nanda Maharaj's room where she saw the child sleeping in bed. Uh, and in fact, his unlimited power, Lord Krishna's unlimited power, was covered like a powerful fire covered by ashes. So sometimes you see a fire is, covered by ash, but as soon as you remove a little bit of ash, the fire again lights up. So like that, Krishna was like, unlimited power packed in that small baby. She could understand that this child was not ordinary by looking at the beauty. And she understood that this child is going to kill all demons. So, Lord Sri Krishna, the all pervading super soul, lying on the bed, understood that Putana, the witch who was expert in killing small children, had come to kill him. Uh, Therefore, as if afraid of her, Krishna closed his eyes. There are many reasons uh, as to why Krishna closed his eyes. They are described in purport as well as by various acharyas. In fact, some say that Krishna closed his eyes because Putana was a woman and Krishna was supposed to kill her. So Krishna closed his eyes. Uh, then there is also explanation that Krishna closed his eyes because he could not tolerate seeing such a demoness, that she killed babies, small babies. So it was, you know, not to see such a person's face. So Krishna closed his eyes. So Putana took upon her lap him who was to be her own annihilation. So just as an unintelligent person places a sleeping snake on his lap, thinking the snake to be a rope. So this analogy is many times given uh, to indicate illusion versus reality. Sometimes at night or when there is a lot of darkness, if there is a snake which is sleeping, uh, one may mistake it as a rope and then he may end up in a danger, or one may mistake a rope as a snake. So here it is said that Putana could not understand properly that she is handling a sleeping snake, because he is Kala Purusha, Kala of Putana. So she mistook this snake to be a rope. So Krishna is described as a sleeping snake for her because it was her Kal or death. So Putana Rakshasi's heart was fierce and cruel, but she looked like a very affectionate mother. Thus she resembled a sharp sword in soft sheath. So she is also described as a sword which is meant to kill, but she was in a soft sheath, very nicely covered, जिसको मराठी में भी म्यान बोलते हैं. म्यान तलवार जो रहती है वो म्यान में रहती है. तो वो म्यान जो होती है, it is very decorated, very much decorated. So the sword which is meant for killing, when it is put under the soft sheath, it is not understood as such. Similarly, the beauty, external beauty, and her affectionate motherly smile was like that soft sheath, and the inner intent was like a sharp sword. So, although seeing her within the room, Yashoda and Rohini, mothers of Krishna and Balaram, they were overwhelmed by her beauty. And they also did not stop her, but remained silent because she treated the child like a mother. So, on that very spot, the fiercely dangerous Rakshasi took Krishna on her lap and pushed her breast into his mouth. The nipple of her breast was smeared with a dangerous, immediately effective poison, which is called as Kalakut Vish, the poison which can kill immediately. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, he is all powerful. He became very angry at her, took hold of her breast, squeezed it very hard with both hands, and sucked out both the poison and her life. So, in this way, a small baby who was 6 days old, he, he was absolute truth even at that age. It's not that he was not absolute truth, he became absolute truth, or he was impersonal before and then he became person, and they then exhibited and then left this personal form and went back in his absolute formless position. It's not like that. Krishna is always Krishna, supreme personality of Godhead, all powerful, non different than, all pervading, supreme absolute truth. So when Putana was pressed uh, in a very vital point, it is described, the demoness, she began to cry, "Oh Krishna, oh child, please leave me, please go away, do not suck my breast," perspiring, her eyes wide open as if she is going to die, and her arms and legs, violently she cried very loudly again and again, flailing her arms and legs. And as Putana screamed loudly and forcefully, the earth with its mountains and outer space with its planets started to tremble. That's how big she was. The lower planets and all directions vibrated, and people fell down, fearing the thunderbolts were falling upon them. So, in this way, the demoness Putana, very much aggrieved because of her breast was being attacked by Krishna, lost her life. And here, Shukadeva Goswami is describing, O King Parikshit, opening her mouth wide and spreading her arms, legs, and hair, she fell down in the pasturing grounds in her original form as a Rakshasi. So her form, went off, her beautiful form went off, and she took the original form of Rakshasi. As Vritrasur had fallen when killed by the thunderbolt of Indra. So Vritrasur is one of the demons who was killed by Indra, who was ferocious, big, huge. Similarly, this Rakshasi was huge, gigantic. So it is described that this demoness, she was so huge. She was 12 miles long. I think 12 miles means some 8 kilometers a mile, means some 96 kilometers or something similar to that. That was the form of Putana. So uh, she fell down crashing and she died. So it was revealed in the scriptures like Bhagavatam that who was this Putana? Putana, it was described that Putana, when she came in front of Krishna, he closed his eyes. One more explanation of this is she is personified ignorance. So one of the anarthas that we have is ignorance. We are ignorant. We do not have perfect knowledge. So this avidya is a representation of Putana, ignorance. So Krishna Surya Sama Maya Andhakar Jahar Krishna Tahar Nahi Mayar Adhikar. So Krishna is personification of pure goodness, pure knowledge. So where knowledge is there, there cannot be any ignorance. So therefore, to enact this pastime, if Krishna would open the eyes, there won't be presence of andhakar or ignorance. Therefore, Krishna closed his eyes to enact this pastime. This Putana, who was she? In her previous life, Putana was Ratnavali. She was sister of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj, who was king of demons. And we know the story of, Vaman Dev came to Bali Maharaj and took away the, in 3 steps he covered whole universe. So at that time, sister of Bali Maharaj, Ratnavali, when she saw beautiful form of Vaman Dev, small kid, small child, she had motherly affection towards him, and she felt like breastfeeding this child. So she had that loving affection towards the Supreme, who is represented in the incarnation as Vamandev, who is non-different than Lord Krishna. So this kind of affection, motherly affection, was there in the heart of Ratnavali, and she, when saw that Bali Maharaj, everything was taken away from Bali Maharaj, being her sister, she became angry towards Krishna. So affection mixed with this anger, this kind of exchange of emotions with Lord, Supreme Lord, was manifest in the life of Putana. So we can understand from this pastime that our affection or our feelings toward the Supreme Lord, they carry over to our destiny, next life also. So because of her anger towards the Lord, this offensive behavior towards Lord, she became such a ferocious demon, Putana. And because that motherly affection was there, she breastfed Lord Krishna, but she wanted to kill him because of her anger. So, this mixed feeling, Krishna took away her life, her poison, everything. And it is once Krishna gets hold of a soul, he never leaves us. So when he, he got hold of Putana, uh, even though Putana wanted freedom from him, she was crying that leave me. Still Krishna didn't leave her. So similarly for souls like us, who in fact we leave Krishna, we don't want Krishna, we want our anarthas, we want lust, greed, anger, but we for the sake of those anarthas we give away Krishna's association and come to the material world. But when we surrender to Krishna, Krishna doesn't leave us. When we have a spirit of devotion towards Krishna, Krishna will never leave us. Krishna gives this promise in Bhagavad Gita also, that name bhaktah pranashyati, मेरे भक्त का कभी विनाश नहीं होगा. So Krishna doesn't leave us. In fact, Krishna has not left us now also. Krishna is taking care of us now also. From him matta smriti jnanam apohanam cham. From him all the energies that we have, they come from him. He is within our heart in the form of Paramatma and guiding us. He is giving us memory, he is giving us forgetfulness, he is giving us ability, he is giving us, he is pachamyannam chaturvidam. He is also in fact within the stomach, the fire of digestion is representative of Lord Krishna's energy. He says that I am digesting the four kinds of food stuff within your body. Pachamyannam chaturvidham. I am digesting that food. So living being cannot be separate from Krishna, whether he is in spiritual world or in material world. Krishna never leaves a living being. And Ratnavali, she had such a emotion towards Lord Krishna in the form of Vaman Dev. Krishna reciprocated with that feeling, and it is said that Krishna gave the perfection of dai or nurse in spiritual world to demoness Putana. So although Putana was such a ferocious demon with such a bad intent towards Krishna, she wanted to kill Krishna, but with that also Krishna took away all the unnecessary things and only offered her best possible position, best liberation to her. So this kindness of Krishna is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and all demigods like Lord Brahma also appreciated this kindness of Krishna towards Putana. And Shukadev Goswami himself was attracted to this kindness of Krishna, and he left his state of liberation for devotional service. So this kindness of Krishna is required for us to in fact get liberated from our dirty anarthas within the heart. So this demoness Putana in fact represents hypocritical guru or avidya, ignorance. So this anartha which is there within the heart, it is said by Srila Prabhupada that if one wants to get cheated, Krishna will send him a cheating guru. We see that in this world there is so much of avidya, ignorance, and it is very difficult to find a proper source of pure spiritual knowledge, pure Vedic knowledge. And a spiritual master in Guru Shishya Parampara, bona fide disciplic succession coming from Lord Krishna himself, is very rare. Such a guru is very rare. and there are many hypocritical gurus. In fact, in this age of Kali, it is said that there will be so many such uh, gurus and rascals in the name of Guru, that Sumanda Matayaha, they will divert people in general to wrong path. So more than pure gurus, pure spiritual masters, there are hypocritical gurus who actually from external they appear to be very learned. Like Putana appeared very beautiful, very kind, very motherly, and she was dressed beautifully. So these hypocritical gurus, swindlers, they dress as if they are great spiritual masters, great leaders, and they cheat people in general. They cheat their followers. Their external, although maybe appearing to be like a Vedic personality, a great pure personality, but internally their teachings are poisonous. And in fact, the most poisonous teaching by which one's devotional sentiment or one's consciousness can be perfectly poisoned is a so-called uh, Mayavadi Guru, Mayavadi spiritual master. The first symptom of Mayavadi spiritual master is he tells that everyone is God. I am God, you are God, everyone here is God. And second symptom of such a Mayavadi Guru is everything is Maya, including God. God is also Maya. The form of God is also Maya. There is no necessity to worship a form of a God. The form of a God is different than the absolute truth. The form of God is similar to us, which is under the illusion, and the form of God also meets death. The form of God also goes through birth, old age, disease, and death. The form of God also suffers like us. So these are teachings of a hypocritical, false, fake swindler in the form of a guru. So this Putana represents this hypocritical guru. In fact, living being is helpless in this world. So Brajavasis in this case, they were, although under illusion, that illusion is different than the illusion of this world. That illusion is under direct control of Supreme Lord Krishna. They are Mahatma Manastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Mashrita. It is, these pastimes are under the influence of Yoga Maya, which is a different potency than Mahamaya. So the gurus who are under the potency of Mahamaya, they actually appear to be representing the real Vedic philosophy. So different branches, sub branches of these hypocritical guru create many religions in this world, fake religions in the name of pure spirituality, and it is very rare to find a pure spiritual master. Putana represents such an avidya, such a hypocritical guru, and the the escape way or the right way to approach the spiritual reality or absolute truth is to not get diverted by such a hypocritical guru. So the first guru within the heart who is proper is Paramatma. Paramatma knows our feeling. Paramatma grasps our real intent. If one is really wanting to get out of ignorance, he really wants the path of perfection, path towards absolute reality, beyond dualities. He wants perfection to be achieved without any ulterior motive. Such a person is recognized by Paramatma to be pure, and Paramatma guides that soul to a perfect guru, perfect pure spiritual master. He reveals who is hypocritical guru, and he kills the hypocritical guru's presence or avidya in the heart of pure devotee. So pure devotee, pure intention, soul who wants to get connected to pure disciplic succession, he is revealed that from within the heart by Paramatma, that who is hypocritical guru and who is real guru. So this Putana's pastime, killing of Putana by Lord Krishna, actually signifies this great, danger, how it can be overcome by living entity, the great danger of avidya, great danger of hypocritical swindler guru. In fact, it is wrong to use the word guru for such a person. hypocritical, swindler. Swindler means opposite of real saint. So he is a cheater, hypocritical cheater in the guise of guru. So such a person one must avoid. So this way Putana was killed by Krishna. Then uh, the next pastime which is given in Krishna book by Prabhupada is of the killing of uh, this demon in the form of whirlwind called Trunavarta. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, who is full with six opulences, how he killed Trunavarta is vividly described in the next chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is also said that when one hears or reads this pastime of killing of Putana by Lord Krishna, affection towards, devotional sentiment towards Krishna, Lord Krishna, arouses within the heart. So this is Shruti Phal of hearing the pastime of killing of Putana. So the next chapter, chapter 7, the killing of the demon Trinavarti is described. So here Sri Krishna, in fact, when this pastime of killing of Vritrasur happened, Krishna was merely 1 year old. So again, such a small baby, 1 year old. We can imagine how 1 year old baby, how much small it is. Despite of being such a small tender baby, this killing of demon Trunavarta signifies how the supremacy of Lord Krishna is irrespective of his age. So when Shukadeva Goswami saw that Maharaj Parikshit was eagerly waiting to hear about Lord Krishna's pastimes as a child, he was very much pleased and he continued to speak. And when Sri Krishna was only 3 months old and was just trying to turn backside up before he even attempted to crawl, Mother Yashoda wanted to observe a ritualistic ceremony with her friends for the good fortune of the child. So such a ritualistic ceremony is generally performed with ladies who also have small children. So when Mother Yashoda saw that Krishna was falling asleep, now this pastime is related to Shakatasur, killing of the demon Shakat Asur. Shakat means this cart, bullock cart, we see cart. So big cart. In this big cart was there was a ceremony and Mother Yashoda actually arranged for this ceremony, and while this ceremony was going on there, the Shakatasur Vadh or killing of demon Shakat happened. So when she saw that Krishna was falling asleep, because of other engagement, she put the child underneath a household cart, or which is called Shakata. And while the child was sleeping, she engaged herself in other business pertaining to the auspicious ritualistic ceremony. So underneath that cradle, that cart, there was a cradle, and Mother Yashoda placed the child in the cradle. So we see in villages, the mothers, they keep एक झूला बनाते हैं ऐसा साड़ी का, किसी अंडर अ ट्री, अंडर or some cart or somewhere. Those village ladies, they make arrangement for their children to sleep very sound, very nicely. So she placed this cradle underneath the cart, and then that child Krishna was sleeping there. The child was sleeping, but suddenly he awakened, and as usual for a child, when he wakes up, began to cry out. He began to kick his small legs. So this kicking of small legs, in fact, it is described that it was not meant for killing the asura which was there in the cart. This Shakatasur, in fact, he was sent by Kamsa. He wanted to kill Krishna, and he took a ghostly form and he haunted that cart. He was present in that cart, just like हम बोलते हैं ना एक पेड़ के ऊपर भूत है. Similarly, this cart was haunted by Shakatasur, and he was there, his presence was there, and Krishna could recognize, he could understand. And then he was kicking with his legs, but his kicking was not meant for hitting the cart. He hit the cart, and that cart broke, collapsed with a great sound, breaking completely and spilling all its contents. So lot of content was put on top of cart, and heavy material was there, very costly material was there. So Shakatasur wanted that this cart should fall and Krishna should be killed. So with this intent, he was haunting that cart. But Krishna, when he kicked that with his small legs, he kicked that cart. The cart was into pieces, and everything fell down. And then Shakatasur was killed immediately. But this kicking of the cart, the primary reason was Krishna wanted love of his mother. He wanted to get her immediate attention. He was crying, but the sound was not reaching the mother. So he wanted to make her aware of him being crying. So for that devotional exchange, he kicked the cart. But the side effect or the secondary effect was that the demon was killed. So the exchange of pure devotional service with his devotees is the primary intention of killing, intention of these pastimes, and killings of demons are secondary things. So when children who were playing nearby immediately informed Mother Yashoda that the cart had broken, and therefore she hastily arrived there in great anxiety, and with other gopis she came there. She immediately took the child on her lap and allowed him to suck her breast. Then various types of Vedic ritual ceremonies were performed with the help of Brahmanas, and not knowing the real identity of the child, the Brahmanas showered the child with blessings. So this beautiful pastime happened. The Shakatasur, one more asur or demon, was killed, and this Shakatasur, if we see, this Shakatasur is representative of our old and new bad habits, or laziness and envy. All of these altogether are represented by a Shakatasur. We have bad habits. It is said that it is very easy to get into a habit, but very difficult to come out. So similarly, our old and new bad habits, they are representative, or Shakatasur is the example. Also laziness and envy. This Shakatasur was envious of Lord Krishna, and in fact he was lazy. He took form of that Shakata which is lying there, and Krishna's lotus feet in fact can kick away all our bad habits, all our laziness. It can shatter all our envy into pieces. So the Acharyas described this Shakatasur as representative of our anarthas in the form of bad habits, old or new, and laziness and envy. So this pastime also, Krishna was only 3 months old. So next pastime is described here. We'll just describe. Another day, when Mother Yashoda was sitting with her child on her lap, she suddenly observed that he had assumed the weight of the entire universe. So this opening of mouth by Lord Krishna and seeing the universal form is the pastime that is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Krishna showed Mother Yashoda the universal form. That pastime comes later, but here in this pastime, Mother Yashoda was sitting with her child, and it was her on her lap. Weight assumed by Krishna was all. So she was astonished that how my child has become so heavy, and she put the child down. And in meantime, this Trinavarth, one of the servants of Kamsa, he appeared there as a whirlwind, and took the child away. The whole tract of land known as Gokul became surcharged with dust. No one could see where the child had been taken, and all the gopis were overwhelmed because he had been taken away in the dust storm. But up in the sky, the Asura, being overburdened by the child, could not carry the child far away. So this Trunavart, he was a Siddha demon. He was a yogi, and he had that capability to assume. So he took this child and he took it up very huge height, and then in fact, Krishna was desiring to have such a tour, and Krishna was enjoying this flight given by this Trunavart. So this child, he caught him so tightly that it was difficult for him to separate the child from his body, similar to Putana's pastime. And then Trunavarta fell down with great force from great height, because Krishna assumed such a form. Krishna, in fact, not changing his form, in child form only, he grasped him by the shoulder, and immediately this Trinavarta was brought down and he crashed to the ground, unconscious. He was dead. So the demon, having fallen, the gopis picked up the child and delivered him to the lap of Mother Yashoda. Thus Mother Yashoda was struck with wonder, but because of Yogamaya's influence, no one could understand who Krishna was and what had actually happened. So, in fact, rather everyone began to praise fortune for the child's having been saved from such a calamity. Nanda Maharaj, of course, was thinking of the wonderful foretelling of Vasudev. He knew from Vasudev that this child is not ordinary. He is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Later, when the child was on the lap of Mother Yashoda, the child yawned and Mother Yashoda could see within his mouth the entire universal manifestation. So like that, this whirlwind demon called Trunavart was killed by Lord Krishna. And hearing this pastime, we can understand from the description of Acharyas that Trunavarta represents arrogance arising out of erudition in physical science. So this demon, he was expert in changing the matter. He had control over the matter. Similarly, Prabhupada describes that earlier the yogis could, go through any medium, like even through, sky, they could fly like Putana. The yogis could go through, big hills, mountains. They could go through those mountains. Srila Prabhupada described that these modern scientists, they are drilling their way through mountains nowadays by making big, huge tunnels. Their feat is, great as far as science is concerned. They are able to fly planes. They are able to communicate through wireless medium. So the scientists are, having lot of control over physical medium or physical science, and they are proud of their erudition, they are proud of their control, and they become arrogant, and they in their arrogance and ego, they deny any presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are called as reductionists. These reductionists actually want to reduce everything to whatever they can perceive. They do not accept any science beyond their perception. So they feel that whatever they perceive is everything. Whatever they cannot describe in scientific terms or understand in scientific terms is mythological. So they say that such pastimes and such miracles, all of them are mythological. So this is their arrogance. In fact, the pride, actually the arrogance goes on increasing as these so-called scientists who have control over physical matter, they use this to increase their own arrogance. But none of this can help them to overcome the problems of birth, old age, disease and death. So they struggle with these problems. Still they are arrogant. They feel that they can overcome any material condition. They feel that they can even completely annihilate the conceptions of God. They want God to be dead. Sometimes it is said, they say that God is dead, we are new God. So they control material to some extent, but they cannot control completely. So similar to Trunavart, he could control this wind. He could become a whirlwind, and he could whirlwind, the power of whirlwind, we can see whole village or whole city can be destroyed by a whirlwind. And what to speak of a small child, Lord Krishna, sitting in the lap of her mother, his mother. So for he felt that Krishna is such a tender small child, he can kill him very easily. So he carried Krishna, he carried the Supreme Personality of Godhead with arrogance, and he rose to a very great height, similar to the height of arrogance of modern so-called scientists who are atheistic and who do not have capability to maintain their goodness, maintain their humbleness. In fact, according to Vedic culture, one who is arrogant, the arrogance is the sign of lack of knowledge. Arrogance is the sign of ignorance, and the knowledge means a person becomes humble, uh, humbler than a tree. In fact, namanti falino vrikshaha namanti cha buddha janaha shushka kashthascha murkhascha na namanti kadachana. This verse was quoted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said that namanti falino vrikshaha, the trees who are laden with fruits, big fruits, they namanti, they bend down because of the weight of the fruits. They bend down. Namanti cha buddha janaha. And similarly, the wise are also humble because of so many qualities, so much knowledge they have. Their wisdom makes them very much uh, humble, not arrogant. So humbleness, the humble attitude is representative of wisdom. Shushka kashthasya murkhasya na namanti kadachana. But on the other hand, shushka kashtha, the dried wood, if you see, it can't bend. Dried wood doesn't bend. Similarly, murkhasya, one who has no knowledge, one who is in arrogance, murkha, he never bends down, he never becomes humble. Na namanti kadachana, he doesn't humbly bow down. So although somebody may pose as a modern scientist or a great philosopher, great knower, knowledgeable person, if he is arrogant, like here represented by Trinavar, if he is arrogant of his powers, arrogant of his position, he will crash to ground. Higher up he goes, his ego goes, the force with which he falls down is great. You go to a higher position, you will fall down and break your bones. If you fell down from 2 feet, nothing much happened. You fell down from 4 feet, something happens. 6 and 8 feet, something more happens. And 10 feet, something dangerous happens. And if you fall down from 100 feet, you will be dead, as Trinavarth was dead. So higher the arrogance, the fall is greater. So therefore, this Trinavarta Asura represents this arrogance within our hearts. The enviousness is the source of arrogance, and ego is the false prestige is the source of this arrogance. Krishna can kill this arrogance. Even being a small child, these childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna actually signify the greatness of absolute truth. So therefore, these pastimes which are enacted by Lord Krishna in Gokul and later on in Vrindavan, like last time we described about Nalakuvar and Manigriv, this pastime how Nalakuvar and Manigriv, they became trees, and how Krishna delivered them. These two represent ego born of prestige based on madness due to wealth. So one becomes wealthy, he becomes mad, and ego is born out of that prestige. So Krishna removed, they also represent the lust. They were lusty with women. With their wealth, they were squandering around. They were enjoying, and they were not having any any respect towards saintly Narada, the great sage Narada. So they fell down and they become trees, and Krishna delivered them. So our ego, born of prestige based on madness due to wealth, can also be cured by hearing these pastimes of deliverance of Nalakuver and Manigriv. Similarly, Vatsasur, Bakasur, Aghasur, and Dhenukasur, Kaliyadaman, Davagnipan, Pralambasur, and then Indra, crushing of Indra's pride, then Varun Dev's capture of Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj was swallowed by Vidyadhar, and then Shankhachud, Arishtasur. All these pastimes, they represent certain anarthas within us, and these pastimes, hearing of them, understanding them from proper Guru Shishya Parampara, with right philosophy, with right consciousness, with right attitude of humbleness, gratitude, tolerance, one may learn the greatness of Lord Krishna. One may learn about the pastimes of Lord Krishna and his absolute nature, his absolute mercy, and one can become devotee of Lord Krishna, which the process of hearing removes all these anarthas. These pastimes can remove all the darkness of illusion from our hearts, and thus we can be liberated, and we can be situated in pure devotional service. Hare Krishna. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.